de gevechten op 19 september. De gevechten die hij met zijn manschappen leverden zijn ongelooflijk belangrijk geweest in de strijd voor onze vrijheid. Daarom staat zijn naam op de gedenkplaat bij de Sonsebrug ook symbool voor alle geallieerde militairen die streden voor onze vrijheid. Het is belangrijk dat wij de ervaring...
This village saw very fierce fighting in the first days of Operation Market Garden. On the 24th of September, the Battle of the Sand Dunes was raging in the dunes over there, and the American paratroopers were lightly equipped, so they received bigger support from the 44th Royal Tank Regiment. And there is a very famous picture taken in the town of Veghel, not far from here, where you can see Villa Klondike, that's the name today of the building, and there are British tanks lined up in front of the building. Those are the actual tanks that were sent to this area. One of those tanks was set up next to where nowadays the driving school is, the White House, further down the main road. And one of the other tanks within this village stood between the windmill and the miller's house. On the 24th of September, Gilbert Aston, he was the tank driver of the Sherman Firefly who stood next to the windmill, and his crew, they heard a loud explosion. And it must have been Roy Hooper's tank. He was the driver of the other tank further down the main road. His tank got hit, and Hooper was standing next to his tank at the moment the tank got hit, and he was talking to an American officer. They were arguing about different items, different things. His tank exploded, he got blown away by the explosion, and he was lying on the ground. And he yelled to those Americans, "There is still one of my guys inside the tank, go get him or he will burn alive." And sadly enough, the tank burst into flames, and Jasper Jones, who was still in the tank, died in that moment. Moments later, Roy Hooper, the driver of that tank, succumbed to his wounds as well. Gilbert Aston and his crew, who were next to the windmill, they heard the explosion. So they were alerted by that, and they started to look for the German piece of artillery who knocked out Hooper's tank. They saw him driving through the open field, and what they did was they used this windmill and the sandy slope around the windmill as a natural cover. So they drove forward, fired at the German, drove backwards to reload their gun, threw the empty shell out of the hatch. They missed the first time, they drove backwards, reloaded their gun, drove forward the second time, fired again, they missed again, drove back, threw the empty shell out of the hatch. Those two shells are still here today, so they are kept by the family. The third time, Gilbert and his crew drove forward, the German returned fire, shell exploded, and the tank burst into flames as well. And Gilbert and two of his crew members, Chick Hardy and Stacy, died within the tank. So that's also the reason that on the civil cemetery next to the church, you will see 5 British graves, and all 5 of them, Hooper, Jones, Aston, Stacy, and Hardy, are all members of the 44th Royal Tank Regiment.
Over de eerste herdenking van de bevrijding in Os in 1946. En zij schreef: op de heuvel was het zo'n beetje kermis.